I've received feedback recently that I come across as aggressive in meetings, and I feel like this is an unfair characterization. I like a good debate and advocate for the ideas that I think are best because I believe in them. If you can't handle the heat, you should get out of the kitchen. What are your thoughts on this, Aram? I'm worried that having a reputation for being aggressive will hold me back from getting promotions.
It will hold you back from getting promotions. And you should consider ways that you can express your passion and belief in things without being considered aggressive. All right, before I get fully into the answer, I just want to point out, although you're using the word aggressive, I want to sub in the word intimidating, and then we can kind of build it from there. So there's a difference between being perceived as intimidating and acting intimidating. They're two very different things. I'm going to give you an example. Our youngest daughter practices jujitsu. She's 6, and she goes to a gym that's near our house, and it is the most welcoming place. The instructors are amazing. They're kind. They're so like just nice when you go in the door. And I find them very intimidating. Why? Because they're all like total like masters of jujitsu, and I am just like some skinny nerd. And so when I'm around them, I'm like, gulp, like I feel like kind of this like little wimpy dude. They don't at all act intimidating to me. So they're not people who are acting aggressively to me or being crappy to me or anything. It's just that I view them as being highly proficient at something that I think is really admirable and I'd love to do. So I get a little nervous around them when I'm around these people where I'm like, wow, they're really good at this like really highly physical thing. People who are proficient at things, more than proficient or really, really strong at things can sometimes be considered to be intimidating, but not because they're acting intimidating. They're not acting crappy or dismissive or aggressive or toxic. It's just that their level of being able to do something is kind of awe-inspiring. And people who would want to be good at that or move in that orbit can often be like, oh, I'm nervous when I'm around them or intimidating around them. The reason I bring this up is that when people get any kind of feedback like this, one of the places that I go to first is, hey, this might not be true at all. And it might just be that you're very confident in speaking and that you're really articulate and you speak about things deeply or in a deeply passionate way. And that there's actually nothing at all going on that would be considered aggressive or intimidating. It could just be that the people around you find that manner of speaking intimidating. But that doesn't mean it's something that you have to change. So I'll put that out there as the caveat to this conversation. But let's go to the flip side. It is your job when you get feedback like that to figure out if you are actually being aggressive. And so, like I said, there's a difference between being perceived as intimidating because you're so good at something that people find it intimidating versus acting intimidating. So there's a difference of being like, in this case, it's like, are you actually acting aggressive? And that would be raising your voice, cutting people off, being dismissive of ideas, not listening, talking over people, using physical or verbal presence that shuts down conversations or makes people uncomfortable. And to be really frank, those are career blockers. Nobody wants to work with people where they start using tactics to shut down conversation or essentially win conversation. Nobody wants to do that. So it is really up to you to figure that out. How do you do it? You got to do a lot of video work. And what do I mean by video work? You should be looking for situations where you're going to have difficult conversations on phone or on video, and you should be recording those things. You should not be recording both sides of the conversations though, because that's creepy and illegal. What you should do instead is you should have the audio of the other person going into earbuds, so only you hear it, but you should be recording your audio on a separate device. And the reason you do that is not so that you have something to use against people later on. It's so that you can go back and review, how quickly am I speaking? So what's my cadence of speech? How's my tone of voice? If you're on video, what's my physical posture? What's going on with this area, which are referred to as zone 1, between the chin and the tip of the nose, and then zone 2, between the tip of the nose and the top of the forehead. How are my eyes activating? What's my mouth doing? What kind of words am I using? Am I using encouragers? So encouragers are physical indicators that you're listening to someone, like nodding a head, and verbal encouragers like, yep. When people are trying to get someone to shut up, they throw their encouragers off. They speed up nodding, like yeah, shut up so I can start talking, or they start going, If they're using them well, they should be falling on pace with the conversation. So you encourage more dialogue. You want to be seeing what you're doing physically. You want to hear what you're doing in terms of sentence structure, words, all of that, because it is your job to get a hold of it. So the first place is it that I'm just really good at expressing myself and people are taking that the wrong way? It could be tempting to go down that lane. By the way, you might be like, I'm just so darn good at this, and people just can't handle it. I mean, it's really up to you about how well you hold up the mirror here. It is actually real for some people. Sometimes people really are just intimidated by how comfortable people are expressing themselves. So you've got to have a real gut check here. Around that gut check is if it is aggressive, get feedback from your boss, get feedback from your peers, but definitely start taping yourself. And you should be taping yourself frequently just so you have a sense of what your baseline is when you're communicating normally versus what it is when you're in a more elevated space. But the work is yours to do. And if you don't do it, it will be a career blocker.